It is another beautiful morning on the DV and SA Railroad. I had to come up with something on the fly, so that's what it is. All right, so bottom line up front, Railroader is a game which is probably as close to being a model railroad for your computer as you're going to get. Unlike a lot of the other simulators like Train Sim or Run 8 or whatever, they tend to focus more on the main line, whereas Railroader is a lot more about customer service operations. And I will have to say it, especially at the current price, it is absolutely worth the dollars that I have paid for it, especially if we go on like an hours per dollar basis of entertainment. And what I'm going to do is basically go through a day on the railroad, and well, you give me a couple of tips and hints if you decide to take this up, because it is early access and the tutorial is okay, but it leaves a lot unanswered. So I'm not going to do a whole series of videos on Railroader because it will get a little bit repetitive after a while. And well, you get an idea for the game, so you can dive in, hopefully with fewer questions. There's no forum, there is a Steam discussion guide. There's a Discord which is reasonably active, although you don't always get your questions answered, but it'll do. But anyway, a little bit of a background. So it's the 1950s, give or take, early 50s as you can tell. Diesels have been invented. And you're running a short line, all in all about 50 miles long. And the object is simply to service your customers and make money. Hooray. Now, the economy on this game is a little bit borked and unrealistic, which is partly why I say it is a model railroad. It is very difficult to lose money. This isn't an empire building game. The money is simply used as a way of obtaining new toys to play with and put on your model railroad. So the little, where did it go? There it is. So nicely detailed Pacific in here. I'll bring it out in a moment. I mean, yeah, it'll cost you $1,000 in the brass to get the same detail in HO scale, but anyway. So your lifeblood as you start the game is going to be the interchange. This is Silver Interchange. It is the one with which you start. Now, as you expand your railroad, the interchange will move. Let's say you buy out the trackage rights in this direction from the class 1 that currently runs it, and the interchange will go over there. So this is how cars come and go from your railroad. And as you can see, by hitting tab, you put the waybills. These are all the cars that were serviced over the last day and are awaiting pickup. By default, the exchange happens at about 6 in the morning. Actually, let me open up a few of the consoles here. There we go. And if you want to know what time the exchange happens, you go to, in the console, which is the railroad console, go to locations, look for the interchange, and you can see when the next one is due. It's going to be in 3 minutes, and you can schedule it earlier if you really want. And when you're starting, you might want to do that simply so you can get your coal hopper filled up sooner. But what is going to happen is in about 3 minutes, all these cars that I've serviced and delivered to the interchange, and you know you're in the right place because you highlight the waybill and the destination track gets highlighted, or you mouse over the waybill. All these cars are going to get taken away, and they're going to be replaced by new cars that have been requested by the industries on your line. So in the meantime, the line right now starts off in East Whittier. You got a little logging branch up here to Connolly. We'll come back to that. And when you start, you go as far as the town of Ela. So there's only two. It's a very short line. There's only 2 places to go, and you're given a little passenger line, passenger car. After a while, you can upgrade the passenger car, replace the locomotive. Now I have a full load of passengers, so I'm going to send it on its merry way. So you start with 2 locomotives. The locomotives aren't great, and when you finally get more money, you will be able to replace them with something a little bit better. So right now my passenger locomotive is an Atlantic. I've replaced the original wooden car with 2 high-capacity steel cars, and there is an observation coach which doesn't have much capacity, but it does put a 20% multiplier on your income. So I have also upgraded, we'll talk about upgrading your route in a little bit. I've also upgraded the track to have signals. So I have a central traffic control system. So this is the passenger train that I have just sent on its merry way, and it's going to go all the way down here to Appalachia. And then it's, which is basically down here, this is Appalachia Junction, and there's a branch line. Brooks is, there's not much down there, there is a coal mine. And then the Appalachia branch, which I have only just opened a couple of hours ago, comes down here. So this passenger locomotive is going to go, actually I think right now it's only going as far as Appalachia Junction. So what I need to do then is I actually need to go back here, and it's not going to help my passengers right now because they've all loaded, but we're going to go as far as Cochrane and Appalachia Depot, and I'll copy these loadings onto other cars. Now, the reason you might want to do that is, let's say you eventually run a mainline train that goes from all the way east to all the way west, but you want to send passengers down to Appalachia without sending the entire train down. Have one car, just have Cochrane and Appalachia, leave the car here, and then maybe a local will grab the car with all the passengers aboard. So you can select which passengers are going to go into which car. Now in this case, since I only have one line, it's a long line, but it's a long straight line, I'm just doing a local run. Eventually you can do express, whatever. So as I say, CTC, you don't start with this, you have to build it. I have a red signal, so it's time to work on this. Now the CTC board, there is a YouTube video out there that shows you roughly how it works, but it's really simple. So let's set it for green, and up it goes, and the locomotive will go on its merry way. Now, when you start off, it is only going to do, the tutorial is going to teach you how to physically drive the train to the level of walking around to the couplers and manually turning the angle cocks to allow the air supply to go through. You don't need to do that. Yeah, it's good to know how to, but once you get going, you don't have time to drive every train yourself. You gotta figure out how to use the AI drivers, and of course the tutorial is silent on the matter. So the AI driver, let me grab, let me see, do I have, the interchange has received 41 cars. So what I will do then is I will go back to here. These are the 41 cars that have just arrived, and if I do the way bill, you can see where they're all going. So the coal loader, for example, is just right here, and you can verify that by putting mousing over, and it shows you where your destination is. They're also color-coded by destination. So the far east of the line, it's a town called Silva, that's red. It kind of gets more orangey to yellow by the time you get to Whittier and Ella. It's more green by the time you get to Bryson. Robinson is blue, and I have no idea what the other colors are because I haven't gotten there yet. But as you can see, they come kind of jumbled. So your first problem is you got to start switching. And there's a couple of different ways of doing it. But one of the obvious things to do is you do a bulk train. There's a whole lot of Robinson Gap coal. So if we start simply doing a coal drag, well, these are empties, but there'll be a coal drag coming the other way, that'll immediately free up a lot of space on the interchange. So let's get this locomotive out, and I'll just check the lines. Okay. I prep every night before, once I run out of things to do, there is a sleep button So if you really have done everything you can on the line, you're just waiting for the next day and you only hit the interchange, hit the sleep button. There you'll get some additional financing, and depending on what captive service you've done. And you go on to the next day. So I'm currently doing road mode for major movements. So there's three options. Manual is quite literally when you select a car, controls will show up and you can go forwards or reverse. You got an independent brake, a train brake, and a regulator. And as I say, if you really want to, you can walk around, you're given an avatar, and you can climb into the locomotive and you can stick a head out the window and you can do all the controls yourself. I personally would not do it, but you can. Yeah, so let's line it up. Now, the thing about road mode is it'll go so far and then stop. Now, AI drivers aren't idiots. If they see a train in front of them, they're going to stop before they get to the train in front of them. If they see a switch lined against them, they will stop before they get to the switch lined against them. So you can use switches, turning off switches, as ways of stopping the locomotive when they get there, so you don't have to keep tabs on where the thing is. The last option is a fusée, which is basically a flare. You control F, the flare arrives on the track, and the locomotive will stop when it gets to that flare. And the flare will stay there, it'll burn forever. I'm not sure how they do it in 1950, but it will do that. But anyway, so road mode will get you close to something. If you want to actually couple, you either have to go to manual or you go to yard. So I'm going to go to yard mode, and I'm going to go up to 20 cars. Now it's a little bit confusing. It says clear for half a car, clear for 1 car, 2 car, 20 cars. What it means isn't you think you have 20 cars worth of clearance before you have to stop. What it means is go forward. You're trying to clear a point by up to 20 cars, 20 car lengths. Now, coupling. As in real life, the couplers will connect automatically, but you got to do the air hoses. When you uncouple, you have to manually uncouple the couplers, and the glad hands air hoses, so the brake hose will disconnect automatically. So something else you need to learn very quickly is the use of the shift key when doing coupling or uncoupling. So the angle cock right now is closed, so even if we connected the glad hands, there's going to be no air passing through. Now what the tutorial will have you do will be to physically walk around and turn this handle, and then you go to the other side and turn the handle. Well, that takes forever. You don't have the time for it, and unless you're an absolute masochist, there's no need to do it. So hold down shift when you collect the glad hands, and the angle cocks on both sides will open. Similarly, when you open the coupler, we'll come back to that, if you shift, then it will close the glad hands automatically. You're not going to have a big long leak. So Robinson coal is blue, the last of the blues is here. So what I am going to do then is probably, they're all down there. I'm probably going to dump them on the right hand side and then eventually connect back here. Actually, belay that because there's too many of them. Let's go forward. So I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to say to get to here is, it's better part of 20 cars. Now, in the meantime, it is possible to control more than one locomotive at a time. So I have a logging Mikado, and I'm going to bring him out as well. Now, the Mikado has a problem that it only has so much water, the tank Mikado. However, it's relatively cheap for the amount of horsepower that you get. Oh, I forgot to disconnect the brakes. Hang on, let me shut him down for a second. It's relatively cheap for the amount of horsepower that you get, and it's pretty nippy. So if you are doing some switching and you're short on cash and in the early game, which you will be because you won't have enough locomotives with horsepower to do everything you want, while early in the game, this is a cheap and cheerful thing. The only catch is it really is a local. You can't go too far from the water, which is here, or the coal, because quite simply you're going to run out. It's a 2,000 gallon capacity, and just going in and out of the engine shed has already cost me 150 gallons. You get the idea. Now, so you will have noticed that the locomotive didn't start, and the reason for that is down here. So you can see the two reds, the independent brake is applied to the locomotive and the tender. You can see it's here. Then there's two purples. Those are the handbrakes on these things. And if I hit the handbrake, you're going to see it whirl away, and you'll see the brake shoes will move backwards or inwards. And the parking brake, the handbrake, has been released. Now you can either apply and release the handbrake simply by clicking on the control, or control click the car, and you can apply or release down here. Now there are reasons why you might want to do that, especially if you're doing things like flying switches. When trying to click on a moving handbrake can be a little bit difficult. But you can do flying switches, you can do kick switches. It's all down to the timing and how you control it. So in the meantime, let's get this guy all the way down here, and we'll put a flare, fusée. There's another one for that, just so that he doesn't go all the way down the track and I have to find him. So now that I have released the handbrakes, okay, that's straight. Let's normalize these. Away we go. Now apparently this is supposedly a freight type Pacific. Looks like a passenger one to me, but it is currently the most powerful locomotive I have on the railroad. Now I'm going to change that in a few minutes, because I can actually afford to buy something like a Decapod or a modern consolidation. Or if I really wanted to, I could get a diesel. As I said, the economics, this is an early alpha. The economics of the game are not fantastic. And the decision, there's really little reason not to simply get the biggest, most powerful locomotive that you can, because there's no maintenance payments, for example. So the other thing you'll see I'm doing now is I have started, wrong way, switching two ends of the yard at the same time. So again, it's up to, so the AI driver somehow knows what's at the other end of the consist. So even if he's reversing with a 25 car consist and there is an obstacle in the way around the corner, the AI driver will understand this. All right, that's the coal loader. Let's go back another couple of car lengths. Oh, wrong one. All right, let's go back another few car lengths and connect on to these Robinson gaps. So in the meantime, Whittier Sawmill is one of the big businesses you have around here. Again, the tutorial doesn't talk about it. It says we'll come back to it, but it never does. This is a sawmill. On the locations tab, it is located here. Now I'm running it at tier 5, which is as high as you can get. The higher the tier, the more cars are going to get delivered, and the more production comes from the industry, and the more money you get. But you got to be able to handle all the cars. So this is a logging facility. Logs come onto this track. You start with a whole bunch of skeleton cars, and the products come out on these two tracks. So far so good. Now if you click on it, you'll see that to operate properly it takes 30 carloads of logs a day, and it has a certain amount in storage. So it's got 50 logs is about 15 cars worth, a little over 15 cars, so 56% storage. So even while your logs are empty, your cars are empty, getting refilled or swapped out, it can still produce off of the storage, and most industries will have a little bit of a buffer. In the meantime, I have now connected back here. It was the coal loader was the stop. So I'll go down and pull here. I'll take off Bryson lumber and I will go forward. In the meantime, my locomotive back here. Okay, I have a single green at the hardwoods, which I want to get out. So we'll disconnect that. And we will similarly reverse. I have it down for 10 cars, well, let's say 20. So he is not chugging away. I bet you there's another, look, there are 3 more handbrakes. I bet you this is one of them, yep. And another, and another. Now, eventually, if you have a strong enough locomotive, you can it'll pull regardless of the handbrake, but what you're going to do is you're going to use fuel and water far more quickly. And as I say, water is the lifeblood of the system. Let me kill this fusee here, I don't need this anymore. Without water, your engines will run out of steam and they will stop functioning. Oops, let's go back to select the locomotive. Okay, so we're going to connect it at the back here. This is all blue. So far, so good. In the meantime, we'll reverse him. And while they're all doing that, let us start working on these logs. So this is one of your starter locomotives. Actually, this isn't. This is the first one I bought. 10-wheeler. Not hugely powerful, but definitely more powerful than your 2 starters. The numbers, if you're curious, so 25 is generally a reflection of how many thousand pounds of tractive effort the locomotive provides. Okay, here we go. Connect the glad hands. And let's reverse you back out. And what I will do is I will generally have this switch set, because there's a head shunt here, this is a dead end. So even if I forget to stop the locomotive, it will stop itself, because again, the AI driver is not an idiot. In the meantime, if you're curious, the passenger train that I sent on its merry way has thus far gotten as far as the town of Bryson, and it's just leaving it. Let me just quickly check I don't... Actually, there's a limit to how far that train is going to go, because there's a whole bunch of cars in the way. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to hold him in position. Stop moving. Because in order to expand to Appalachia, I had to fix a bridge. The bridge being, oops. What's wrong with this setting? Okay, here we go. Somewhere around here. Well, there's a whole lot of trackage anyway that had to be built. So yesterday, this track did not exist, and I had to deliver several work trains over the course of several days in order to allow that bridge to be built. And as you can see, it is blocking the track. Oh, they got a little yard down here too. So what I need to do is I need to clear that work train out of the way. Well, what I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the Pacific. After it hauls these guys up to the coal dock, it will then go and clear the train. Oh, I did that wrong. Okay, so let me fix that. Anyway, so you're getting the idea. So I'm going to finish switching here, and I'm going to cut because this will take quite a while. Oh, speaking of taking a while, there is here a real-time versus 1 to 2 setting. If you're doing this on your own, and it is possible to multiplayer this. So if you really want to, you could have one crewman maybe switching one yard, another person online switching another yard, a third one running the central traffic control, Okay, so I ballsed up by disconnecting something, I think. Yes, I did. So I should have disconnected here. But if you're doing this on your own, you might want to go down to 1-to-1 scale. Time compression in this game is quirky. So time compression will affect how quickly loads are processed, how quickly passengers will accumulate at your stations, and so on. What the time compression does not do is make your trains go any faster down the track. So if it takes 20 minutes to get from here to here, it's going to take you 20 minutes of real time no matter what way the time compression is set. It's a bit annoying, especially in the early game when you're doing a lot of waiting around. Now when you have multiple locomotives all going around, eventually 1 or 2 of them are going to demand attention, and you become a lot more time efficient. But anyway, as I say, let me finish sorting out this yard, and I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. So, as you can see, I have started the Pacific moving forward with a whole lot of blue, and I have left a whole lot of yellow behind. Now you'll see I've also tagged the greens onto the end of it. It turned out it was really easy to switch, so all I'll do is I'll just add this one to the tail end, and these guys are going to Bryson, which is over here. So what's going to happen is this long train is going to take the main as far as Bryson, drop off the green guys, and they will be switched by the Bryson switcher, and then the rest of the train will continue down to Appalachia Junction. So let's add them in. Now you'll see this is 24 cars long. It's not quite longer than most of the passing sidings here. This is mainly a one-way line. So I'll just make that clear. And we'll back him off. Yep, just in time. But what is important isn't the length of the train, although in fairness what it does do is it takes time. If the one air pump is at the front here, it takes time for the air pressure to equalize, to release or add down the length of especially a long train like this. But the weight, 860 ton. Now this one locomotive is perfectly capable of getting 800 tons pretty much the entirety of this route. The strongest grade here is about 2%. And there is actually a PDF map that you can get online which shows you roughly where the grades are and also the lengths of the passing sidings. However, when these coal cars are filled, and each one holds about 60 to 80 tons worth of coal, that becomes a lot more than this one locomotive can hold. Let's go forward. So you will either have to double head. What's he hammering about? Okay, you'll either have to double head or you have to break it up into multiple sections. So in the meantime, let's give him signals again. Except here, he's going to make the right. It's not NR, it's normal reversed. Normal is basically this long straight line, and reverse is one of the loops. So we're going to reverse this one, so he's going to go up to Bryson and go into the yard area instead of staying on the main. And I'll just make sure that the yard itself is correctly set so that it stops when he gets to the top. So right, left, onto the main, or the main yard. And it'll stop here because there is a reverse switch set. So off he goes on his merry way. He's got 8,000 gallons of water, 7 tons of coal. You learn from experience what that'll get you, but that will get you the full distance easily from here to Appalachia. Now when you're going on a grade, you're using your throttle a lot more. That sucks up water. You're going to have to fill up your water a lot more often than you will be filling up your coal. So in the meantime, logs. So as I say, you start with these logs that are going up to Connolly Creek. I have told them you got to figure out the way bill. So you select a car, you go to orders. Select a car. Go to operations, and you can select where the loads go to, where the empties go to, and unfortunately it's by track. You must specify by track which of the various tracks you're going to. Now if you want to know where they are, go here. This is Connolly Creek. This is where the logs are, and you can see tracks L1. Can I go to them? Yeah. So L1 is this one down here, which if you see where your icon is, lets you know where the switch off is. L2 is further up here, L3 and is up yonder. And they each have a certain amount of logs per day. So those 5 cars, as I say, are going to L1, which if you look down here, L1 will do 12 carloads a day. Well, there's only 5 cars, so technically there's enough production here that the cars can go down and up twice in the day, and they will be fine. But I want to keep it simple, so what I do is I actually have 2 sets of cars and 2 tracks. I'll just set the switches so he can go up the hill. And after I just check the Y switch, nope, I was turning the passenger train. Okay, so now all these switches are set that I can set this train in motion. It will go all the way up here to L1 and stop when it gets there, and I don't need to pay attention to it because I am busy. So the other thing I'm going to do is we are going to load or exchange those cars here. First thing I'm going to do then is, let me see, which ones of these are not going to Whittier? Sawmill. They're a big business. Stencil, 2 more sawmills. Okay, so let's go do some more switching. In the meantime, if you have a look at Bryson, remember this is the Bryson switcher. Now this is one of the starter locomotives. It's as you can see, it's only a 16,000 pounds tractive effort, but the advantage of this one over the other one that you start with is that it carries a lot more water and coal, and you can actually do something useful with it. And as you're looking around, all these ones that are highlighted and bright, they are ready to go to the next place. The ones that are faded out, that aren't highlighted at the top, they have not finished loading or unloading. So as I'm looking around, I have a pickup here to go to the interchange. I have a pickup here to go to the interchange. And there's a couple of industries around the corner down the hill. There's 2 ways. You can either fly or you can do some control clicking, whatever. There's a tank car going to the interchange. And there's another industry over here somewhere. Where did he go? Which almost completely requires a change out. So what I can do is I can use the Bryson switcher to grab these cars and basically store them in the yard for the train going the other way to pick up and go. Now that said, I have a suspicion that's what's going to happen is that the train coming the other way is going to be totally overloaded with coal, and we'll have to come back on another run to pick up the interchange traffic. But I'm just quickly checking the routing through the yard. That all looks good. So let me go to the controller, and that will get us out to Bryson. Now, there is a catch with the central signaling system. If you want to take a branch line, as you would for one of those 2 industries, when you flip the switch, it'll send a signal to the CTC that the track isn't clear, which means that the signal can't go green, which means you either have to manually tell the locomotive to bypass the signal. It'll show up down here when it gets there, or you have to do a manual pass. Or in this case, what I've done is I've left it closed, and when it gets past the signal, I'll turn it. In the meantime, let's go back to my switching here. Now, if you're not sure where the brakes are on the line, look for this little caret here, and that shows that there is a brake in the brake line somewhere. Connect it, open up the glad hands, and you are good. Okay, let's just go forward about 10 cars worth. Did I miss one? I missed one. Every now and then that happens. Okay, we'll come back to you. Now the thing about the sawmill is that it is a push entry. So I have to get all the sawmill cars into one block, then run around behind it and push them all into place. And actually take a couple of runs because the head shunt simply isn't big enough to do it all at once. Okay, and we'll stop here. Now there are more industries in the town of Whittier itself, which is located here. Control T will teleport you to where you need to go. That one is not ready to go. I have one to pick up here, and the house track is empty. Now you're not going to get any choice about the house tracks. You can select contracts or anything else. You cannot select whether or not you're going to get house track traffic. So speaking of, as I mentioned, the tutorial tells you we'll come back to the sawmill later, but it doesn't actually do anything to show you how it works. This is what they call captive traffic. This is traffic that originates on your rail line and terminates on your rail line, which means that you don't use the interchange and you have to have your own railroad equipment to do the transporting, which means that you have to buy these things. So you go up to the train icon, and this is where you buy locomotives or coaches, caboose. The caboose doesn't do anything yet, it's just for decoration more than anything else. And then here you get some of the cargo cars that you need for operating your railroad correctly. So as you see, as they get onto the place that they're supposed to go, the highlighted track, they will fade out. So it gets to the right location. The track is technically level. You see 0% grade. Trust me, it is worth applying the handbrake anyway. And better yet, if you can bleed the track. No, it's released. Okay, let's try that again. Now, if you want to know what the grade is, go over a piece of track and press Shift and / the key next to Shift. On an American keyboard, that will get you a question mark, and it will tell you the grade that the track is on. You can see this is 2% immediately. This is a grade for, fortunately, the ones going up are usually empty, and going down you're more worried about the brakes. So let's reverse, and because the pickup, I have two sets of cars. The pickup set of cars is further up here. I'm going to back out. I set it against so that the train will stop here. I'll come back to it in a few minutes. And pick up where I left off. Okay, I'm not sure quite how long this cut of cars is, so I'm going to go into reverse anyway. Ooh, must be a bit of a slope somewhere. Okay, let me apply the handbrake. If you're not paying attention, you can suddenly come back to your cars that you thought you had left on the level, and they end up somewhere entirely different. Okay, and again, all the switches up here are set. That I have it set and forget it. I'll come back in a few minutes and it will be ready to connect to the next set of log cars. And because I'll be going in a straight line on the way back, Once I go past this switch here, I'll set it back to normal. And then when I go reverse again, I don't need to think about it. Okay, so again, I'm going to cut away here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cut only of Whittier sawmill, and then I'll come back when we're ready to install that or deliver them. Okay, so what we're going to try here is a kick switch. So this car needs to go down this track. This one is going to end up joining the others like it on this side. And to do that, you just use momentum. So what we'll do is we'll start the engine going forward. When it gets up to speed and we'll have to follow this car so that we can actually see the coupler. Shift clip the coupler, and that will uncouple the car and at the same time close the angle cogs. So the air that is inside the car, inside the brake system, will stay and thus not automatically apply the brakes when the line breaks. And then because we're following the car, we can then hit the handbrake when we get closer to where it is we're going. So case in point, we'll start it 20 cars forward. We'll let it get up to speed. We'll follow this car. And the object is to stop the train before it gets to that switch. 10, 15 miles an hour should be sufficient. Okay. So I have disconnected it. I should now stop the locomotive, and the car is going to go on its own momentum down the line. When it goes past the switch, we can turn it and continue the locomotive down the parallel track. Now in the meantime, we also want to make sure it doesn't slam into the cars further down the track, so we'll just follow it along. And as it gets closer, when it gets about here, we'll turn on the handbrake. There are a couple of yards that are on a grade, so you can actually do some hump switching. Put it on there. And that'll slow the car down. And it's a level grade here, so I'll release the brake just so I don't forget about it later. Oops, ran short. That's one downside with yards, is that there's no advance to couple. You actually have to go in lengths of 20. So if it's more than 20, sometimes you have to go in AI road mode to get close and then switch to yard mode. It just occurred to me, this is going for the coal loader, so we'll leave that towards the very end. Okay, again, I will come back to you when we're ready to start switching the sawmill. Okay, I now have my cut of Whittier sawmill cars, which all have to go on these two tracks with this little head shunt, with one exception, that this coal car needs to go to your conveyor. But in the meantime, whilst I was working on all this, a few other things have happened. Firstly, the long drag, such as it is without actually loads, has made it to the main yard at Bryson. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to detach the Bryson destination cars and let the train continue on to Appalachia Junction. Then I have to go, the signal, by the way, this CTC is in here. So to get into it, let me just go down the stairs. So it's at the Bryson station. Go in the second door that said DS, which I presume means dispatcher. Up the stairs. Go in front of the chair. Try to go in front of the chair and sit down in front of it, and then you're there. Now, you'll note that although I tell the switch to go left on the reverse on the loop, when I push the code button, the implement button, it doesn't do anything. And that's because this light here is showing that there's an issue with the next block. Now what it is, remember I sent number 2 forward to Appalachian Furniture or Appalachian Hardwoods. It has gotten that far, which is fine, but in order to do it, I had to turn open the switch. So this is the main line. Here's the switch for Appalachian. You see it's offset. I have to straighten it out. Then when I return back to the CTC, the light has gone out, which means I can now set this light to green. And I've now done so. So now this is green all the way to Appalachia Junction. I should return quickly to, oops, number 2. I've linked up with these 3 that go into the interchange. Hook up the brake, check I didn't apply any of the, oh, he's got the handbrake applied. And I will reverse him out now. Oops, let's try that again. Control click to select your locomotive, by the way. 10 cars ought to do it. So while that's working away, oh, and the other locomotive, number 3, a 25,000 pound tractive effort mogul, has made it to the other cut of cars. Remember I said there were 2 cuts of cars. And when I go deliver one set, I pick up another set. Now again, these are cars I had to buy. And you'll see that the this is a pulpwood track, this is a log track. You can't fit, obviously, all of your cars onto one track. Boo hiss. So connect. Go into road mode because it's a long haul. We'll say 25. I'll just quickly remember to check that I normalize this switch here, so it's actually going to go down. Yes, I did. So that is a set it and forget it now. Or at least it should be. Let me check I didn't leave a handbrake on. I did. But there's enough weight and enough power that I'm simply overrunning the handbrake. So it's set it and forget it down until it gets to Whittier at the bottom of the Y. And I'll just check the switch is aligned. I actually wanted it aligned against because I wanted to stop when it gets to the bottom because I'm working at the sawmill. So in the meantime, I will take this car. Now this is a car that shows up in the tutorial. It tells you that you need coal because you only start with like 2 tons of coal in the conveyor. That's all that fits at the bottom here. It tells you to purchase a hopper. Now there's 2 types of hopper you can get. There is the 50 tonner, the 2-bay, and there is the 75 to 80 tonner. To start with, you probably just get the 50 tonner because it's more affordable. When you get to some of the coaling towers, like at Bryson, those hold 150 tons, so you may as well just get a 75 ton hopper because you can afford it at that point. Oops, let me flip that. And use that because that way you're shunting these things around a lot less. Okay, so I'm going to set it and forget it while he moves forward there. I'm going to come back to Appalachian Hardwoods. Have I cleared the switch? Yes, I have. So I will pick up It looks like just one car is ready for filling here. Appalachian is a bit of a bear to switch because inevitably you're going to have something going to G3B. Actually, it's going to be coming due. Actually, there's only another 3 tons left in here, which means you have to pull all these guys out of the way, then deliver the coal, and then put everything back again. And if the industry doesn't have all the ingredients it needs to build something, it will stop building, which means everything comes to a screeching halt. Now, it's fine to pull it away. Just remember to put it back afterwards. Okay, I have now placed my hopper on the loader. That's going to fill up. It ordinarily stores 2 ton. It'll get there. Go back out. Yeah, we'll unload it. Oh. And you can see now he's starting to go up the grade. Now this is up to a 2% grade at points. It's only 1 right now. But these are all empties, so it'll do fine. Okay, I've picked up these guys. I'm going to set that parking brake. I'm going to release that parking brake. Connect the brake lines. We'll just check. Oh, there's another brake here somewhere. Check the angle car. No. There we go. And you can work your way back to Bryson. Now what I need to do is I need to remember to change this switch. Actually, we've got a pickup there as well. So I will set a fusee here to go pick up, to stop the train so I can go pick up the tank car. Meanwhile, with the coal delivered, let's go back up here to Whittier, and I can start switching things. Now, first thing I need to do is get these guys out of the way, so I'll actually store them temporarily where these logs would go when it's filled. Yeah, so this is how you use the AI driver. Again, it is possible to use a human controller, your avatar. So all you do is you simply Control T and he will appear. You can see me there standing by the side of the track. So wait for him to get a little bit closer. Let's try hopping up. Oh, first I have to open the door. There we go. I can do this on the move. Yep, there we go. So again, if you really want to, if you have an overriding urge to control this thing from the front, here's your throttle. Not sure what that is. Oh, look, can you see how much water I don't have in the firebox? Usually the firebox will open. Must be, that'll happen fast. Anyway, as I say, I mean, it's the tutorial tells you to do it. It's nice to know you can, but in actuality, you shouldn't. The only downside also with using the avatar is you now have to go back to Bryson and walk him back up to the. Okay, I'm in the river. Let's go this way. There we go. Walk him back up to the dispatch office. The console will do it as well. So what I can do is I can /TPDS, teleport to dispatch. It's another way of doing it. Anyway. Okay, I've gotten this far. I've cleared the switch. So let's go down and pick up the tank car. these guys. Well, actually, I probably shouldn't. Let me delay that. Let me get the other guys out first. Forgot to go in reverse. It's usually a good idea to check your locomotive and make sure it actually did decide to move. Well, it's the middle one, of course, so I got to do a little bit of switching. Pick him up. Release the handbrake. Release the coupler. No handbrake. And away we go. Anyway, you are starting to get the idea of how this works. So, again, I'll come back to you the next time something unusual happens, because otherwise this is going to be a very, very long video. Okay, so welcome back. I have now cleared the 3 cars out of these 2 receiving tracks. Again, if you want to make sure where you're going, highlight the new waybill and you'll see it's there. Now, the head shunt is only good for about 7 cars. And the nice thing about the tank is that it takes up a lot less space than a tender locomotive. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should be about right. So we'll break that coupler, we'll apply the handbrake, and we will reverse him back into the head shunt. In the meantime, a few other things have happened. So our large train has made it to Appalachia. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go into a passing track, because it's a lot easier to push up the to the coal mine than it is to pull. So I'll just verify I can actually get to the passing track. Yes, I can. It's not blocked by these guys. Straighten that out. And that should get me to here. So let's go passing track. So we'll reverse, left signal, go. And it'll go on its own way there. In the meantime, the train that I'd sent to pick up the tank car and Appalachian, I have completed that. So we'll allow him back into the yard. I'll check the switches for that in a moment. The passenger train, I think, is good to start continuing. Well, no, because it's going to have to reverse when it gets to Appalachia. Disregard. That ding was one of the signals, one of the turnouts being fouled by a moving train. Okay, so let's see if those 7 will all fit in there. Okay, so he's coming into the yard. Now I have to remember that the previous mainline freight had straights all the way back to the other end of the yard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down a shorter track. That should be enough. Let's see, left, left, left. I'll put a switch against to stop him at the other end. Okay, so he's cleared the turnout. So when he stops, what you will do here at the signal, first things first, apply the parking brakes. I'm going to do the first 2. Disconnect. And then I need to set the junction and start going down. I'll try to remember to pick them up in a moment. Okay, all 7 cars have barely, you just need to be covering, even with a single bogie wheel or even the coupler, the destination, so he's made it that far. Let's go get the other ones. Don't forget to do that. Oh, he's set for normal. Let's set the correct switch. Okay, that's better. And you can see the turnout is also turned. Now why isn't he moving? Sometimes there's a little glitch. You have to give it a manual. Oops. Let's select the correct locomotive. Just because you have something selected here doesn't mean it's selected in the controls. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a run around, and then we're going to push them up the line. So the other thing about Robinson is, let me verify what's at the top end here to make sure I don't go too far. Okay. Because also I'm bringing in 15 to 20 cards. There may not be enough space here. So that's the other reason I'm pushing. Okay, nope. We still got a little bit to go before we get to the back end. Let's speed it up a bit here. And let's approach. Oops, wrong switch. Actually, I'm not surprised they let me do that because the line should be blocked. I guess we're getting a caution speed, and actually it says 15 mile an hour speed with a caution. I can go faster if I want, which I do because I want. So it's going to come to the back of this coal hopper. Over there. And then I have to remember to undo the handbrake at the far end. And again, I'm going to cut out here and come back to you when we're ready for the next stage. Okay, so the Whittier cars are now all getting delivered. They're all clear. Yep. And you're going to hear the ding as more money arrives in my coffers. There we go. So 53, 50. The timely bonus only occurs at the higher tiers, by the way. Now, what you won't get money for immediately are the logs. Captive freight, logs, pulpwood, etc. Oops, that was a whoops. I forgot to clear these guys. I'll come back in a few minutes. Every now and then you make a mistake, but you only realize too late. So again, I'll come back to it. In the meantime, this poor old guy is shoving 650 tons up a... Let's see what the grade is. We get this track up a 2% grade almost. We'll talk about double heading at the end, but it is doable. See, I got ahead of myself. Instead of clearing this, I completely forgot that the track was blocked, because usually it isn't when I do this. So I'm just going to get him out of the way, drag it back to the... Oh, good lord, I got 49 gallons of water. Belay that. $38 Fortunately, the water tower is right here. So as long as I don't get excessive with the throttle, I should make it. If not, there is a locomotive right there that I can use to pull it. But that's kind of the catch with that small little loco is... He's almost there. Is you are going to run out of water sooner rather than later. Oh, yeah, he's not going to make it because this is a pretty stiff uphill, 2%. Well, we'll see. Worst that happens is I don't have to haul it very far. Now, if you run out of water down here or something, then that becomes a lot more critical. But again, that's why I figure I can use the tank engine for that area, for the Whittier area, because there is water right next to where it's going. So it looks like this one ramp, this one line, has enough space for 19-20 cars. And this is at tier 3. So you can imagine if you went up to tier 5, just how many cars you would be hauling every day. You need some serious power to do it. Now the other thing about this is a gravity feed system. When you drop your cars off here, what happens behind the scenes is they will roll down the hill, the miners will roll the car down the hill, stop it under the loader, and let it roll down further to the collection area. So we'll go back, I'll just put it into the head shunt to stop it when it gets to the bottom. And so you pick up your loaded cars down here. But be cautious that a lot of them, the air hoses aren't closed, the angle cocks are open. You've really got to check your train configuration at the bottom. Okay, he's made it this far. He's got 20 gallons left. So I'm pretty sure he'll make it to the end. So I'll just put a flare there to make sure he doesn't go too far. And in the meantime, well, no, I gotta actually get the water. 13 gallons. Oh, it's gonna be close. He should be coasting now, though. Yeah, he's using 0% throttle. So again, and as a gameism, there's no firing up the locomotive. As long as there is water and coal, it's ready to go immediately as soon as you look at it. Okay, we'll come back to you in a moment. You've reached the head shunt, so let's go pick up your one car. I grabbed a lot of them last night. It was my last move of the day. I was grabbing the coal from up here, so there's only one car left. Down to 13 gallons, but I will almost certainly make it to here. Now this is where you need to go into manual mode. open the hatch. Well, it's usually on the tender, of course, but open the hatch. This is what I remember to look. You just have to get it absolutely right. Just get it close. Unstow the water. It'll go down, and it'll start filling up at about 40 gallons a second. Okay, so I picked up my 40 odd tons of coal. Release that now. I heard that, look, you can see the angle cock is open here. So this has to be manually closed. Just grab it and drag it right against the closed. There we go. So now it breaks. That'll work. And back down the line he will go until he gets to Appalachia junction again. Still filling, and there's our 2,000 gallons. Larger locomotives, it will take longer to water. The Berkshire, the 284, will take about 10 minutes. So I'm going to pick him up, get him out of the way, and then place the logs back in the loading track. Again, I will come back in a few minutes when more things change. Right, back at the Appalachia junction. I have brought the Pacific down, run it around the Y, which is like a 3-point turn for trains, and hooked up to the work train that was left overnight and has to go back to the interchange. So what we're going to do now is simply send it back to Bryson. We'll set it to 435. It's a downhill run. It's not going to be a problem when the brakes are strong enough. Now, in the meantime, you see that I did send the passenger train coming down the other one-way track. So we've got to set up a meet. There's a passing track here at Hemingway. So I'll go back to the dispatcher. The station, actually technically both tracks I think are good, but we'll send the passenger train to the station track because I'm nice that way. So this signal and this signal are both green leftbound on the normal route. Now there is the Pacific fouling that line, and it's going to get here, but I want it to make a left. So on this track we're going to go right bound, reversed that way. So what's going to happen is he's going to come left, he's going to see a red signal, he's going to come right, he's going to see a red signal. But this is a 34 car passing track, so there's ample room for the passenger train to go past and just keep going. In the meantime, I'm also doing a little bit of switching over here at Bryson. 3 of these are going to Appalachian hardwood and are push deliveries. This last one at Bryson is a trailing delivery, so I'll come back and deal with him in a few minutes. And I'm also doing a little bit of work down here in Whittier. He's delivered his logs, and we're going to do, let's see, oh, I can't go in here because the switch was open. So Whittier should be green now. Yep, there we go. Oh, caution. I've got a couple of deliveries to do here at Stencil Manufacturing, which is this trailing one here. So they're just going to tag onto the edge. And again, I will cut away and come back in a bit when more things happen. Right, so our passenger train has stopped at Hemingway. It's getting people on or off, and in the meantime that freight is taking the other siding. And if I have a look behind me, I'm going to see a red signal. There's going to be a red signal on the other side. So what we will do is turn that signal green, so right direction, reversed, so we want it to go this way, and send it out. And we can do the reverse going the other way. In the meantime, I've just set green lights for the passenger train going left. Oh, I can't go right because I've allocated a green light to this train, which is going left. It's going to go into Appalachian hardwood. So I'll come back to him in a moment. Let me just catch up right quick with this guy. Once he goes through the signal, I'll turn the turnout. There we go, through the signal. We'll turn the turnout so he goes right. I'll clear it after he goes past. And I'll keep switching over here in the meantime. Okay, he's gone past, so I will normalize that turnout. That should now allow me, there we go. And so what will happen now is that this train is going to keep coming, make the left up into Bryson into the yard area. And I'm actually going to be a little bit cagey because what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly deliver these two. They're both going to R1. Well, actually no, one's going to 3A. It doesn't matter, they're both on the near side. Left side, right side. And then it's the third one back here. So if I do this quickly enough, I can get back to Bryson before that big train gets down the hill. It's going to be a little bit of a race, but I think I'll make it. There's a few other things I want to pick up and tag onto the end of the freight train. Actually, it's going to stop, while I think about it, it's going to stop anyway. So I've got the tender. There we go. So again, let me deliver some cars and I will see you back at Bryson. Or Ayla, actually. I think Ayla's going to be next. Okay, so this here is Ayla. This is the other town that you start with next to Whittier. And it's a little bit annoying for two reasons. Firstly, here is the passenger station. You'll see it's on the single track main line. It is not over here by the freight house and on the passing siding. Nobody can tell me why this is the case. It's actually quite busy though. There's 40 odd people, 70 odd people waiting. 40 going one way and all the rest going the other. The other annoying thing about it is that in order to service the two tracks, you got to come back on the head shunt and go forward, which means that this station is much more easily served by a eastbound train than a westbound train. So there's two choices. What some people will do, no, three choices actually. You can either come on with the westbound train because you pick up your interchange traffic at Silva, at Whittier, East Whittier. Come west and you'll stop where my number 3 is here. You can then do a runaround and then park the cars. Or what some people will do, just to keep it simple, is they'll drag the Ayla traffic all the way to Bryson, switch it at the yard into an eastbound train, and have the eastbound train come back and do the switching. Or the next option, which is what I've done here, is the very first locomotive you get is one of the two first ones. This is actually the more powerful by about 10,000 pounds attractive effort. Correction, 1,000 pounds attractive effort. But the tender is so small that you can't haul very much for very far. So in practice, this gets relegated to pulling 1 or 2 passenger cars, and that's the end of it. So what I've done is I've turned it into a local shunter switcher here at Ayla, and in the meantime, this allows my number 3. Oops. Let's try that again. This allows my number 3 to continue on its way to Bryson. So let me quickly check that because it was reversed. Don't need a switch list. Switch lists are more useful when you have multiple crews, multiple players. But anyway, it's when you can't find something better for one of these locomotives to do. I mean, I'm eventually going to make a museum, put them all in the roundhouse. But for now, she's still being used. Not often, because these aren't the busiest of tracks, but they still get a bit of purpose. So in the meantime, I'm still doing a little bit of switching at Bryson, and again, I will come back in a few minutes. Okay, so welcome back to Bryson, and we got a couple of things going on here. Firstly, number 2 has picked up a few more interchange loads, which are going to go west together with all these guys. Secondly, number 3 has made it this far, so we're going to turn him and also replenish. And the last thing that happened is that the passenger train has made it to Appalachia Junction. Now the catch with Appalachia Junction is, and this might be why people will only use it as a branch line instead of as major terminus, is that the Y isn't long enough for the entire train. Now there is an observation car, as I said, but the bonus for having an observation car only applies when it's at the end of the train with the platform at the end, which means that you have to turn the thing if you want it to look right. Now, there is absolutely no reason why you have to turn the train. It will do just as well forwards or backwards. Yeah, let's see, I've missed one here. And so if you don't mind a train running in reverse for 40 miles, it's not a problem. The system will allow you to do it. There we go. So let's see, where's the brake? Here it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to tag him onto the end. Well, I don't know, which way is he going? Oh, I forgot to clear him. Okay. We can fix that easily enough. That was the trailing one that I forgot to do. Let's see, this way, all good. And he missed. Sometimes I don't get the lines right. Easily fixed. Too fast. Slow down. Now I have not tried running two trains head on at each other to see if the AI will stop them or not. AI is good, it may not be that good because brakes are still an issue. It is one of the few settings is braking force. The other difficulty setting is when the cars arrive at the interchange, just how messed up are they? I put them mostly mixed up. When switching is kind of fun. You saw that from my, oops, did I go the wrong way? You saw that from my Inglewood Sidings video, yeah. Sometimes you mess up and give controls to the wrong locomotive. Alright, so he's now going right, and onto the turntable. Okay. Again, they're not idiots. If the turntable is not correctly aligned, Actually, let me move this fusee just a little bit here. If the turntable is not correctly aligned, the train, the locomotive will stop the AI driver at the edge. Now remember, when you're in manual control, all bets are off. It is very easy to derail if you're in manual control. If you are clever with the AI driver, you should never have any accidents. The AI driver is also going to slow down more with larger locomotives on tighter turns. It is possible to go too fast around the curve for the locomotive type. So you'll see when you look at the locomotives, curve radius. So for the switcher, it's extra small. When you go to the Berkshire, it's large. Okay, now the other problem with turntables is the bloody things are, you have to be manually done. So Control T to put your avatar on the turntable, and you got to actually control the handle. Now if you do it right, you can move it and still control with an external view. You don't have to get it absolutely correct. If you get it close enough, the tracks will snap to position. Nope, not quite. There you go. And be careful when you do it though, because if you have left it on forward, it will go forward. So let's bring it up here to the coaling station. Select. You have to select if you're going to go in manual mode. Alright, so let's get under the water tower here. It probably doesn't need it, but it's just for the sake of the show, as it were. And I'll also put a bit of coal in. So this is my main coaling station. Well, that's a miss if you don't get it exactly right. Well, not exactly, but you got to at least get it close enough. And you can see there's actually quite a bit of water to put in here. It's something like a 7,000 gallon tender. There's 2,500 gallons. The coaling tower is filled with 150 tons, but my hopper is nearly empty, so that's going to be heading for the interchange soon. If I really want to, I can manually cycle it and send it to the interchange with the extra 4.7 tons, but I don't need to because the hopper reserve is so big that you can live with that for a while. In the meantime, let's take these two passenger cars, and I will turn this at the Y. So again, it really doesn't matter. It's purely for aesthetics, but why not? Okay, you are getting a delivery up there. So actually I need to go back to the turntable, because the easiest way to get onto here is to use the turntable as a head shunt. Fortunately, I'm still there. There we go. So we'll send him back to the dispatcher's office now. Not that there's much going on. Oh, the ALA track switch is still open, okay. We can fix that. Alright, so he's been delivered, and all I'll do is I'll just hook this up for the eastbound train to attach him on the end, much like I did with the previous set of interchange traffic. And he is done filling. Let's go forward just a little bit. The coal. You're going far enough. Reverse. So D1 should be the ramp. Yes, it is. Okay, so we're lined up that way. Larka, we're towards the end here, so I think you're pretty much starting to figure out how this works. Let's back you up. And again, this is with using the AI, this is how you juggle trains. You are now loaded. Next thing to do is put you in front of the heavy train. Come left. And we'll stop you here. Apply the brake because you're up high. It'd be very embarrassing if it rolled down. Now, if you do something silly like damage cars, it will affect your reputation. Your reputation, so I have 109 because I had a derailment. I managed it before I figured out AI. Reputations give you discounts on purchases or on milestones. Oh, right. The one switch I didn't clear. And we'll reverse you. And you are simply going to follow the other locomotive east. So MU is pretty much the last thing that I'm going to show you before we continue off. Oh, I forgot to switch the track. Mildly embarrassing. All right, and I also wanted to change this to put him onto this interchange traffic. So this is 130 tons of locomotive. That's the better part of 180, I think. And it does get counted, so there's about 300 of this 1,200 tons is locomotive. But we're going to add a little bit more. Just make sure there's no brakes up. There is a brake in the line here somewhere. There it is. Now to do an MU, whichever one is not going to be your primary, so in this case we'll lead and control with this one. Select the locomotive and click cutout and MU if you're at the front. Now if you're at the back, the rules are a little bit different. I think you just have cutout select. Hang on, which one do you not select? You just have MU selected but not cutout. If you don't do this, things aren't going to work well. The other thing you have to do with the MU locomotive is you got to go into manual mode. If you don't, then it will not take controls from the front. So we'll just hook up these cars to the back end of it. All right, we'll leave you alone. Okay, reverse. And this is going to be a nice long drag down to Whittier. Now, when you start expanding on the east side, there is quite a grade here between Barkers and Cowee. It's about 2%, or 1.5%, I think it is, the whole way. No, I think it's it's a little over 1% the entire way, and that will slow down even a powerful enough locomotive if it's got a good load on it. Similarly, as I say, you got this grade here before Hemingway. It's about 2%, but it's a bit shorter. The steepest, there is a 4% grade somewhere around here in Topton, I believe it is, but I've never gotten there yet, so I can't tell you for sure. Just a little bit shorter. Okay, let's go forward another 2 car lengths. Okay, so let's connect here at the boxcar. Disconnect the locomotive. And that is a 1,500-ton train. Oh, there's a brake I didn't connect. Oh, I see why. I think. DVSA 2. What did I just disconnect? Did I accidentally disconnect something? Okay, let's see how this works now. So, select this one locomotive. I'm on road mode. And because it's flat, let's go up to the better part of 30 miles an hour. Now what will happen is if you set the throttle for a much higher speed than it can physically get to, the engineer is going to keep it at 100% throttle, just trying to get to that speed, whether or not he can do it. And all that will do is it will simply suck up your water a lot faster than it otherwise should. So keep an eye on your train, and when you're on a grade, oh yes, signals. When you're on a grade, just make sure you know what speed the thing is going at. So we're going to give it green lights. Actually, go into main. Nope, we're going to stop at Ella because there's another car to be added onto the interchange. And I forgot to straighten that switch. It was not letting me get on there. Okay, let's try that now. There we go. So that is our big, long train heading east. Oh, no wonder it's on a slope. So the brake didn't apply, I guess. So I had mentioned that some of the yards are on a slope, and you can do hump switching. Let me actually check that. This is one of them. In fact, you can see the slope here. 1.6 degrees. So if you do have cargo coming down from the copper mines here, and that for some reason needs to be switched, that's how you would do it. Whoops, wrong button. Speaking of milestones, so if you want to advance, so Appalachia Junction water column, for example, I have to deliver one car to the Appalachia Junction site, and that when that is delivered and unloaded, I will pay my $200. I will get a water tower at Appalachia Junction. I don't know how much I need it, but anyway. So the other two options available to me right now is, one, I can pay $7,500 and get the track that goes all the way down here. Silva has a paper mill which requires pulpwood and is quite a significant amount of time and effort. But the other problem is that, especially with the coal over here at Robinson, you need some powerful locomotives to get them, especially up this Cowie grade. The alternative is to build the Fontana Lake Bridge. So I would have to deliver to the Fontana Bridge site, which, if you're curious, you go down here. Fontana Bridge site should be, I'm not even sure if where it is. Anyway, it's well, where it actually is over here. It's It's at the end of the line. And if you go to the end of the line, you see the bridge and you realize, oops, that there's no track. The track needs to be completed. Before you can continue going west towards Almond and Vesser. Okay, so I've actually finally connected to the observation car, and I can go to the Y. But that is basically it. Pretty much everything else is a variation on a theme. So I have my long train heading back east to the interchange. It's going to be so long, I'm probably going to have to split it up at the other end. All right, no harm done. If I have a quick look at Whittier. Yeah, they were interchange traffic. We'll see how our sawmills are going. So it's already sucked up all the logs here. And it's filled a couple of cars. But I go to the sawmill, it's got 60%, so I have plenty of time to go up and change out the logs again. And my little tank locomotive should have, I think you need about 1,000 gallons. It's got 1,800 gallons. He can do that, so I will start him doing another log exchange, exactly the same as I did last time. Deliver the empties up to the top, grab the ones that have been up there for a while, hopefully they should be filled by now, bring those down, replace them, and on you go. So anyway, as I say, this is an extremely enjoyable game if you like railway operations. There are still quirks. Again, it's early access, so for example the Berkshire doesn't fit on the turntable. So you're going to have to go backwards a lot with the Berkshire if that's the sort of thing you want to do. Actually, I wonder if I can do a flying switch or something. So I don't have to do well, no, I'd still have to do a full run around. Unfortunately, that's just how big the Appalachia is. So anyway, so those are the milestones. So this is how you expand your reach. And the other thing is, say, location. So I've just gotten to Appalachia. So Robinson Gap, I'm already doing a tier 3. And then there's the copper mines. There are 2 copper mines. Appalachia Fuel, never heard of it. Let's start off with a tier 3. Why waste time? Same with machining. Same with the chemical. So the question is, what do I do with the copper mines? Well, there's 2 of them, so I'll do 3. Now this is going to require, again, some hefty horsepower. Some hefty horsepower. Fortunately, my finances are such that I can purchase at least the consolidation, if not the Berkshire. So the Berkshire goes for 30 grand. I could, if I wanted, buy a Berkshire, which would do some seriously heavy hauling. About 10%, no, 20% more than the consolidation will. It's also got a huge tender. You know, let's buy a Berkshire. I'll pay my $1,000. I have to go back in. Can I purchase? Yes, I can. I have 5,000 left. So I have now purchased a Berkshire. Hooray. I just did a thumbs up and you couldn't see it. Bollocks, did I forget to turn the switch? I did, I forgot to turn the switch. Yep. Oops. Let's see what a Berkshire looks like. They get delivered with, it's a pretty beefy looking locomotive. They get delivered with about half the tonnage of coal and capacity water that it actually can hold. But believe me, that is plenty enough to go wherever it is that you're going at this early stage in the game. But the advantage to having the Berkshire immediately is that you can start expanding and not worry about whether or not you have the horsepower to get over some of the hills. Now don't get me, a single Berkshire is not enough to get really, really long trains up really, really tight steep hills. There are people that will double head Berkshires or use 3 or 4 GP9s or whatever. Let's get him out of the way, the interchange, because he's going to need that. But, okay, so I now have horsepower and a bank balance of 0, again. It's going to take me forever to straighten out the amount of changes I made. Now, again, this is the first time I've come down here. Actually, I probably could do a flying switch now, think about it. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can do a flying switch. And hopefully I don't damage the car doing it. So I'm doing 20. Gotta be careful, some of these curves can be a little bit tight, so. All right. A little more speed. So look where the switch is, all right. We'll open the coupler, max out the speed of the locomotive. Select this one, apply the handbrake just a little bit here. Ah, nope. It's not going to work. I don't think. Nope, didn't work. Too much handbrake. Never mind. I'll live. Let's go brake pressure. It's 1%. I'm wondering which way that 1% is going. Actually, doesn't matter. I have to run around anyway. So yet again, I'm wasting more water, of which I have plenty. Well, anyway, you're getting the idea. So as I say, quite enjoyable. I think it's worth the money. Good luck.